Welcome to Strip Cover Lit. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here with a writer's workshop video of Thomas Harris's Hannibal.
Hannibal is actually the third book in the Hannibal Lecter trilogy, starting with the original Red Dragon and, of course, Silence of the Lambs, which everyone is familiar with.
So, Dalton, as a writer, what is the first thing in this book that stood out to you?
I think, as a writer, we really need to discuss writing a character that is more intelligent than you. How does one actually sufficiently do that without just boring the audience? Because if we're reading Hannibal Lecter's diary, we're lost completely, in my opinion.
Right, not only us, but Thomas Harris would be lost writing Hannibal Lecter's diary, and that's not a dig on Thomas Harris. No one's as smart as Hannibal Lecter, right? So I think that one of the strategies that he's fallen into in this novel is to hide the character, right? Surprisingly little Hannibal Lecter in a book called Hannibal.
I agree, but that kind of gives the sense of mystery and allure when we finally do meet Hannibal. It's more prominent, if you will. However, I think, honestly, Harris did the best he could, especially when Lecter's speaking, delivering academic symposium, if you would, is the right word. It's brief, yes, but it's just enough to give the reader the hint of Lecter's intellect and intelligence without delving too much into it and kind of burying himself.
Right, see, and there's the fine line. There's a point in the novel where Hannibal Lecter is trying to give a dissertation to get basically an academic position with a church, and the actual address itself is, I think, something like a page and a half, which when you say it out loud, that's going to last about a couple minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes, 5 minutes. The audience which would have been listening to that address would not have been impressed.
I agree with that, but in the sense of a novel, if we were going to give Hannibal's entire dissertation speech, we'd be reading a novel in itself.
Then don't put yourself in the position where you have to put that forth, right? Look, maybe that's the actual precedent which is set, and that's what people have to do to get that post. I'm never going to know that. Are you ever going to know that?
I'm probably not going to know that.
Then you make something up.
But what I'm saying is, as a reader, and speaking from Harris's experience as a writer, I think he really tackled it. It was proper. It was brief enough that I felt the sense of who Hannibal Lecter is. I understand his amazing intellect. I understand his intelligence. And I accepted it. It was just a brief snippet, in my opinion, of what he actually said. But it engrossed me as a reader. It kept me attentive to the novel. And I wanted to continue reading. I wasn't lost in the words.
Here's the thing. Have you ever read A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking?
I have.
I'm not sure I fully understood it. But you know what? I felt like I did.
But the thing is, do you want to read Hannibal Lecter's dissertation by Hannibal Lecter, or do you want the good literature, the fun novel that is Hannibal?
I have to believe that if you have ventured this far into this series in order to follow a character like Hannibal Lecter, the book is called Hannibal. We are here for Hannibal. There's going to be something in there, some nugget in this dissertation, this speech, this presentation that he's giving that you're going to grab onto and really gnaw on. That character changes from other parts in the novel. There are interactions with Verger, where Verger's entire, like, it seems like Verger's a different character than he was. Verger's someone who seems to be not at Hannibal's level, but someone that Hannibal could put down on Hannibal's terms.
And I agree with that, and I think in the grand scheme of things, if Hannibal Lecter were to walk in right now and begin to speak to us, we would appear far more ignorant than we would in just regular conversation because of the, I hate to say it, aura that is Hannibal Lecter.
Right, but what type of verisimilitude are you going for here? Are you going for the little bit of ultra truth that a novel should present?
I'm just saying, Anthony Hopkins walks in right now and
I'm
starts
leaving with
talking.
him.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Dalton.
I'm done babbling. I'm done.
I don't know. I think that it's a fine line. Fortunately, there is a beautiful meta moment that plays off of Hannibal's intelligence. There is an exhibit of medieval torture devices in the town Hannibal's living while Hannibal is living there, obviously. And one of the things that Hannibal likes to do is he goes and he just watches these people look at the exhibit. And what this is Hannibal Lecter looking out at us. This is Hannibal Lecter. This is the meta moment where Prospero is speaking as Shakespeare while he retires. This is the meta moment in Inglourious Bastards where we're watching with disgust as these Nazis watch a snuff film, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. How do they do that? That's what Nazis were, gross, nasty people. And then the bastards pop up and start mowing them down. And we're cheering like the Nazis had moments before. And this is that meta moment where Hannibal Lecter is looking out at us saying, well, I might kill people and I might eat them, but you're pretty entertained by it.
I agree, and the sense of horror is really just pushed forward because Hannibal's looking at you now, the reader. It's not so much that now you're just reading about this, you're engrossed in the story.
You're implicated.
So I think Harris is brilliant in that. It's absolutely wonderful strategy as a writer to incorporate the reader into the story in that way. Speaking back to Hannibal looking upon the torture devices and whatnot, his ability to couple violent, horrific gore with elegance is a major selling point that makes me enjoy Hannibal Lecter as a character. It's not just the Texas Chainsaw Massacre slaughter that we see a Hollywood monster. It's elegant, it's refined, and therefore 10 times more terrifying.
And see, that's one of the things that I think really sets the movies apart, as well as the novels. But that's why so many people, Silence of the Lambs, that's a book. I mean, I saw the movie. It's going to live forever because people have never really seen that put together, spliced together.
I think what really gets me more than anything with that is I see Hannibal as being reserved in that moment. He might be feasting upon someone's brain, but he's elegant, and he's reserved, and he's very methodical in his motions, which leads to believe if this man lost control and let his inner demons out, it'd be some kind of monster we couldn't even fathom.
See, and one thing that I go back to is if you've read Danse Macabre by Stephen King, he outlines the archetypes of the big bad, really. And Hannibal sort of falls into the werewolf archetype with this need to build. He's an incredible artist we keep hearing about. He plays instruments, this building, this creative energy that flows from him. But he also eats people, right? There's that flip, that switch that just kind of back and forth and back and forth.
It's something to be said, though, just if I may interrupt. Harris has got you so natural in this now, so engrossed in Lecter, that he also eats people. It's completely natural to say.
Harris eats people?
Not Harris. Hannibal eats people, but Harris has you so engrossed as the author. If Harris eats people, have at it. I don't want to know.
Hey, as a writer, if you've never eaten people, how are you going to write about it convincingly?
That makes perfect sense to me. That is exactly what we need to be conveying on YouTube.
Next point.
As you were. I think if you would like to continue about Danse Macabre and the character archetypes, I think that's really interesting because I have a lot to say about the characters.
Well, the thing that gets me is I wonder if these archetypes are not simply in the horror genre. Maybe that's all antagonists. Maybe all antagonists fall into one of these archetypes: the ghost, the vampire, the thing without a name, and the werewolf. Maybe all bad guys, all antagonists fall into there. It's just that in the horror genre, it's easier to point to and understand.
In this particular novel, there's so much ambiguity within the characters that you don't really know who is defined as, per se, the good guy and the bad guy. I want to hate Hannibal Lecter. He's a cannibal. He's a murderer. He's a criminal. He's a sociopath. But there's something so redeeming from him, something that makes me want to like him. By the end of this novel, I don't want Hannibal to be caught. I want him to continue killing and slaughtering people. Maybe I'm a sick individual, but that's what I want because I like Hannibal as a character.
Is that you find him entertaining, though.
And it is an entertainment factor, but he should be the monster. Even at the end of any slasher film, you want to see the good guys win.
I think what it is that Harris has presented us with a palette which is, like you say, so ambiguous.
Yes.
Where there are no real good guys except for Clarice.
But even if you want to look at Clarice from a different perspective, a lot of people would suggest that she is not a good person. Take the first half of the novel. All media, all of her FBI colleagues, they're spinning her as a bad person.
But we were there firsthand as readers.
Yes.
To know that that is just spin, right?
But not just Clarice. If you take Verger himself, that man should be the hero of this story. He's out. He's actively searching for Hannibal, a man who has scarred him beyond recognition. He wants that retribution. He doesn't want this to happen to anyone else. But he is the sickest and most twisted individual in this novel.
How so?
His sexual exploits with children, just completely, that draws the line for me.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't want to like Verger after that. I don't want to root for him to find Hannibal. I want Hannibal to get away. I'd rather see Verger suffer than Hannibal.
See, and I think one of the things that compels you in that direction is the fact that Mason Verger is so bad that it's cartoonish. Right?
I mean, I could see that. I could.
He's not particularly believable as a character.
You don't think so?
No, he's inflated. It's like Thomas Harris took a step back and said, "Wow, what could I do to make someone even more disgusting than Hannibal Lecter? A guy that eats people. Well, I could do this." And then he went and did it. He didn't necessarily set up a character that is particularly compelling. That character is just bad, right? That's what makes Hannibal so compelling, is that he's a terrible dude. But he draws interesting things. He plays music. He likes to read.
He's an intelligent man. It's
Right.
simple as that.
Right.
And we want to root for the intelligent man. We want him to be the good guy. But I don't think you can say he is the good guy.
One thing that Harris isn't terrible with, but it does pop up from time to time, is the question of adverbs.
You're always on with the adverbs. Just go on. Just have your
On
moment.
with the adverbs.
Enjoy the adverbs. Tell me about them.
There's a quote on page 76 where Clarice physically searched the evidence storage rooms. How else is she going to search those storage rooms? If it is not physically, how is she going to do it? So when you start falling into the adverb trap, you're giving us unnecessary words, and you're using words which don't really mean anything physically. What does physically look like? Describe Starling in that situation. Tell us what she did.
See, I don't think at any point that I could even say to you that let's just not talk about the adverbs, because in every single novel you are going to find a slew of adverbs, and I don't see that as the fault of the writer. Sometimes no.
Did the writer put him in there?
The
Did he
writer
put
put them in there, but it is not necessarily a bad thing.
Tell me how she physically searched the evidence storage rooms is good writing.
What do you just want? She searched the evidence storage rooms?
No.
It sounds
What
flat.
did she do?
It sounds bland.
What did... and an adverb spices things up?
It's a little bit of spice. It's better than nothing. A little bit of spice is quite nice.
This isn't a little bit of spice. This is celery salt on everything.
I like celery salt.
Once in a while.
I'm a man who
right
likes his celery salt.
I'm never going to sit here and tell anybody they shouldn't write anything at any point in time.
Now,
but adverbs are something that they hamper your writing.
I will agree 100% that as a good writer, you should unpack what you are trying to say. There should be this grand scheme, pushing of how she's searching, what she's doing. Paint the picture, if you will. But every now and then, let's just take a step back. Let's move the action forward. She physically searched it. We're done.
Okay.
We can move on.
Well, then, if you want to put up the fight for the word physically,
I will. Physically.
Okay.
Team physically.
Team physically versus team non-adverbally. Tell me how she would non-physically search them.
I don't think she could non-physically search.
Okay, then the word is redundant.
We're going to go back to celery salt.
Celery salt is redundant.
I think I need it. I need it on occasions. Are you just saying we should strip all adverbs completely? Ban them from the English language?
I am not the type to never say never. Okay, but I cannot think of any instance in which an adverb is the best choice.
What concerns me more than the adverbs with this novel is the clunky transitions, but if that would make sense, the clunky transition between the parts of the novel.
Yeah.
I'm not so much focused on the wording, the adverbs. I'm focused on the fact that I felt like I was reading two different novels at one point.
Well, and there's several things I think that play into that. First, it reads like the novel was written and then Harris went back and said, I want Clarice Starling to start the novel. And he went back and he rewrote the beginning. That's how it feels. I'm not saying that was the case. That's how it feels. But a bigger issue for me was between a lot of the chapters, a lot of the different places we go, and ironically I just did it, we start second person. We're here in such and such. And then we move back to the third. And that was jarring for me. I don't think he quite made it work. Pick a view and go with it. He's very good in the third person. Why did he need to work in the second person?
So that's it for our writer's workshop on Thomas Harris's Hannibal. What'd you guys think of it? Have you read the book yet? Have you looked into it at all? Please tell me that you're at least considering it.
How ridiculous does Dalton look?
I look fantastic, thank you very much. You can take absolute advice from me.
So, what should we writers workshop next? Tell us in the comments below.